always hate when people say that, but we actually do have a very condensed schedule. Typically what you see up to this point is we have typically mailed out presentations the Friday before. We did not do it this particular time. And now as we continue working through the rest of the budget process, you're really not going to see a lot the Friday before. It's really more going to be at the meetings as we start then looking at the deficit and where we're actually at. Okay, so just so expectations, so you know what we're looking at. So the way the night will work, we will start with athletics, then we will go over to IT, then we'll break from here and then head over for the community presentation. And in between there, we will also have a very short board meeting as well. Correct, Barbara?
Right.
Paul, what time do you need to leave?
About 6:15.
Okay, so we want to try to make sure we do that. Or you still looking for quorum?
Well, we can start with Marissa doing her part
Or we
first.
need to when we're in
Yep.
before Paul leaves.
Okay.
Okay. What you should have in front of you is a packet that says Eden Reader Athletics, as well as a weight sheet, which at the top it says detailed appropriation budget report by function.
And her budget codes are 2855 because Lucinda has a white one.
Okay.
So hers are 2855.
Is everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So what I basically did was I'm giving you a brief history of athletics. You do not have to read it at this moment, and nor will I read it to you because it's a little lengthy and a little wordy, as Tom would say. But it's basically as you're trying to go through the budget book and make some decisions, and in case you're wondering why we have athletics or what the importance of athletics, on the first page you will see what exactly athletics teaches you. Just a little recap of this year thus far. Eden offers 49 teams, 2 are 7-8-9 teams, 12 are modified teams, 10 are JV, and 25 are varsity. 4 of those teams are sponsored through private funding: fall JV cheerleading, boys and girls modified lacrosse, and modified wrestling. Are sponsored through outside funding of Eden Booster Club as well as fundraising. We currently have former student athletes participating in Division 1, 2, and 3 colleges in the sports of girls volleyball, softball, wrestling, football, boys lacrosse, girls swimming and diving, girls soccer, girls tennis, field hockey, girls track, and girls basketball. This year's graduating class has several athletes that have already committed to their school of choice in the sports of boys volleyball, girls volleyball, softball, baseball, boys lacrosse, and swimming and diving. During the 2015 season, the fall season, I'm proud to say that 9 of our 10 varsity teams that we offered qualified for Scholar Athlete teams, which means that their averages were above 90% or more. This is following in line with board goal number 1. We decided this year to take a hard look at academic rigor, as well as I expect the athletes to be extremely rigorous in their academics, and we were lucky enough that the board approved the adoption of the academic enhancement program after school. Ms. McKenna currently runs that, and it is working out marvelously, and it's really keeping those students as far as studies first, and those borderline students are no longer borderline students. I've seen less and less athletes on that list, which is right in line with board goal number 1, and I'm extremely happy about it. Last year's 8 of the top 10 graduating seniors were athletes, including the valedictorian and the salutatorian. Those are some of the highlights for this year. Does everybody understand when I say the 7-8-9 team, what I mean by that?
Why don't you just take a minute just to say the 7-8-9?
Okay. Well, typically your varsity team is composed of 11th and 12th graders, and anybody that we feel that's in advanced, we could have a 9th grader that qualifies higher, so they move up. Your JV team is typically your 9th and 10th grader, and again, if you have a 7th or 8th grader, you might move up. And then your 7th and 8th graders, your newbies, are typically your modified kids. Well, this year, as you know, we had some teams that the numbers were a little bit smaller. Football, varsity football being one, we made the decision to merge with Lake Shore. The other 2, when we looked at the possible roster sizes we were going to have, they seemed very small, which were safety concerns for myself and the coaches. as well as the administration, and that was girls soccer and girls field hockey. So what we decided to do with those two sports is we canceled the JV season for those two sports, and we asked the ECIC if they would mind if instead of our modified teams being 7-8, if we could play 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. With a little persuasion, it worked out very well, and we competed as 7, 8, 9 versus other 7 and 8 schools. So it's relatively, it's not a league within ECIC, but we're seeing it in ECIC in the sports of field hockey, soccer, and softball, baseball for certain schools that are just not ready to cut an entire program and they're trying to save the program. Does that make sense for everybody? Perfect. If you go to the next page, I wanted to highlight our participation rate. Everybody keeps asking me, Marissa, enrollment's going down, you're going to be a C for football, what are you going to do, what are you going to cancel, what are you going to cut? And I really wanted to take a moment and just show you that even though our enrollment is dropping every year, our participation rate is relatively staying the same. In some instances, it's going up. Last year in the fall, we had a participation rate of 49.7. This year, it did go down to 47.7. However, we offered 3 less teams. If we offered more, the football team, if we offered the football team, we would have had more kids on there, which would have upped our participation rate. We were very smart in how we did it for the safety concerns. I have no doubt in my mind next year that those sports will be back and our participation rate will continue to be, that's actually high. I don't know if anybody's looking at it thinking it's low. If you ask other districts, they are usually in the fall, they're around 30-35% participation rate. We're pretty high for that. In the winter,
Let me ask you a quick
yep.
So 22 teams offered this year. How many last year? 25 was it?
Yes. In the winter, our participation rate actually went up. We went up to 24% in the spring. We'll see. Tryouts start the 24th. So I just wanted to highlight a little bit of the participation that we have going on. In your budget book that you'll be receiving from Tom, it gives a sport-by-sport breakdown, and you can see the roster sizes for each team in case you're wondering on that. Now to the nitty-gritty of my proposal for next year.
And this, by the way, mirrors this
Yes.
little sheet that you all have.
So my nice little paper with the pictures on it, taken by Mr. Jack Cudahy, I hope you don't mind me putting them in there, matches the sheet that I did give you as a handout. And it basically just shows you what I've budgeted for the past couple of years and what has been spent the past couple of years. And you can see there is a little slight increase in certain areas. Supplies has gone up from last year. Last year was around 10,000, 11,000 if you round it up. This year I'm asking for 12,000. Just like if you go to the store to buy bread or milk, it seems to go up every year. That's the same with the price of a basketball or the price of a lacrosse ball. So I have to take that into account. Conference and travel as well as membership. The reason that those continue to go up, honestly, is because our success rate keeps going up. The more we're successful, the more I have to budget for teams, the possibility of a team going towards sectionals, going towards states, playoff games. If we are a number 1 seed, we host the first 3 rounds of playoffs, which are covered by the section. Then if we go on to states, that's another cost. There's certain avenues. We have a wrestler right now that just qualified for state competition, so the school has to transport them to and from, even though the section will pick up the hotel cost. We also have to feed our students. Volleyball, as you know, continues to make it. I expect them to make it next year, no doubt about it. So I have to budget for them a hotel, a transportation. I expect my softball team this year to make it. So they are budgeted in. Those are the things that I have to look for. So in May, I'm not calling Thomas in a panic saying, hey, I need $2,000 to take our kids to state. So that is the reason for those increases. If you go to the next page, what I will tell you with the proposal, again, it just tells you a little bit of where and why there's an increase. But what I mentioned to you before was the 7, 8, 9 teams that we canceled them due to safety concerns with low interest. My plan this year is to restore those 3 teams, to go back to the budget that was approved, the teams that were approved last year, May, because The coaches have been working in the off-season. Girls soccer has been in the gym every week from 4th grade up to their 11th graders doing open clinics. Girls field hockey is participating in the Salins clinic, and varsity football, they're going to North Collins tomorrow or Friday to talk to their students. They've been working with Little League. It is in talking with my coaches, we truly believe that we will have the numbers for this. But again, I will never jeopardize the safety of kids with small roster sizes. So what we will continue to do is 3 to 4 months before the season actually starts, we do our sign-ups. At that moment, I meet with the teams, or I meet with the coaches to say, what are your numbers? If we deem that the numbers are safe, we will continue on to modify the JV, the varsity level. If not, then we'll have to make that decision again. Do we merge with another school? Do we cancel and go 7, 8, 9? Or do we just cancel outright? That is the proposal that you see in front of you. Those numbers that you see in front of you account for the restoration of varsity football, JV field hockey, and JV girls soccer. And this proposal is in line with everybody else as less than a 5% increase. So it pretty much is staying in line with the rest of the presentations you have seen. If you go to the last page, as I was telling a couple people, I receive a lot of requests, as well as the administration group receives a lot of requests, but the ones that are most prevalent and the loudest ones that are coming through, whether it's every week or every month, that I hear all the time, that if we were in a stable financial situation, I would really like the board to take a strong, hard look at the following. It would be the addition to pick up the cost of the boys and girls modified lacrosse teams, which those are currently funded by the All Sports Boosters. Restoring boys and girls modified track, as well as the fall JV cheerleading position, because those were cut 3 years ago, not because of low numbers. Those were cut because of financial situations. Restoring the extracurricular late run, whether it's a 5 o'clock bus or 5:30 bus, that was cut due to a combination of budget as well as low numbers, and the addition of a co-ed rifle team in the winter season. Those are the ones that seem to be most prevalent and asked upon a lot of this group.
I might have heard it different.
So I'm ready for questions.
Do you know what it would take to do all of what you just said?
I can tell you that the boys and girls modified lacrosse teams both would be 10,000 each. No, together. The restoring the boys and girls modified track team, as well as the cheerleading, that would be roughly around 10,000. No, all three, because we don't really pay much for track, and they only have 2 officials, where lacrosse has more officials and more transportation than track.
Can you break it down to the cheerleading separate?
Cheerleading is specifically for the stipend, so I'd have to go back and look. So you're looking at about $2,500 for the stipend of cheerleading. Plus, they get pretty much 3 buses, that's it. Because otherwise they tag team on, so figure about $800 for the buses.
Total?
Yes. The rest would be track.
So it's about the last third. It's like,
The restoring the extracurricular late run, when we initially did the cutting of it, we estimated that it was around a $20,000 for the 5 o'clock. That was for 2 buses every day after school. That was a couple years ago when the mileage rates were different. So it would be a little bit more expensive than that. Mileage and gas, I should say.
It should be less.
I'm sorry, what?
Gas should be less.
Yes.
it would be stipend, it would be the salaries of the bus driver.
Yes.
It would
So,
be the mileage, it
mhm,
would be the gas.
yes.
And it would
That's what Barb just said, yes, covered you there.
have to structure. Correct?
Yes.
It's not everybody's qualified.
Yeah. With the cancellation of the extracurricular late run, it's allowed, we used to do, modifieds had to practice first because they had to get on the bus at 10 o'clock. Well, it's very difficult. Most of our modified coaches are out of district coaches, so So I have been able to have modified practices actually start at 5, maybe end at 6:30 instead. So we would definitely have to change the philosophy of who's practicing first, who gets dibs on what gym, who's watching the kids, that kind of stuff. It's, yes. But financially, it was about 20,000. I guess, Tom, you're the math person, how much bus increases, and I would take 24, 20.
Yeah, no.
Never mind, don't answer.
Okay.
Okay.
There might be some hidden supervision costs here though as well.
Yeah.
When we were just.
Yeah. And the addition of the colored rifle team, from what I've found out so far, I've tried to mirror off of Pioneer, because Pioneer is putting this proposal and they're actually getting a rifle team. What they are doing though is they have proposed to build one in their basement, so their first year cost is going to be about $30,000. After that, they're looking at about 15. I'm banking on ours being around 15. However, that's without my latest news of that one of the facilities might be willing to help us out the first year. What I'm trying to find out, what I found out from other schools, each trip. So I'm estimating a good 15,000 the first year.
Would there be any way in transportation to send them on the bus that does that run in that area?
That all depends on stuff that I can work out with Mary, and I also have to see of what the logistics are. I'm a little concerned with guns on a school bus, I guess, especially, like, I trust my team because they know how to use it.
Yeah.
I guess my thought process is I'm a little worried on the kids that are on the bus that aren't trained in how to use the gun, if they got stupid. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
They can't have them. They can't have them in their car, they can't.
Well, I have to get them there somehow.
Can we
So,
store them at the, what place is willing to?
right now I've heard about the place on Sand Rock that might be willing to help us out. I don't know if that's something that I look at, do we purchase a gun safe and put it there and then store it there, which I would feel much better with. But
You're looking at air rifles too, not at 22s, because that's what most schools
yeah, they
use
use the air rifle.
is air rifles.
Yes.
Okay.
I still wouldn't want that.
But there's still.
Well, and that's the other thing, like I have to, like right now, we try to save as much money on transportation as possible. So if I'm going to Pioneer, let me think somebody closer. If I'm going to Hamburg and Lackawanna, if I have one team going to Hamburg, I'll drop that team off to Hamburg first. And then the other team to Lackawanna. We do this a lot. I would really have to focus on the rifle team being with themselves. I would not want them on a bus with somebody else. Not saying that our kids are going to do something, but I have to err on the side of safety.
Oh, yeah.
So I would make sure that they are on a bus by themselves, which will cost them a little bit more on their away meets,
Yeah.
as far as that.
Have we heard any interest?
That's the other thing. I haven't put anything out, and I've had a board member request it. I think there would be requests, but no student has ever come to me on that. I've had ice hockey, I've had indoor track, I've had, and I say I because they're coming to my office, it's indoor track, gymnastics. I was hounded pretty much every year for gymnastics. I have not had crew. I have indoor track, gymnastics are the two biggest ones in ice hockey that people want to know, can I join with this one? Why can't we do this? Can I join with this? At this time, no, I have not received any student requests.
I don't think that we put it out there.
No.
Because it's scary to do that if you don't know anything.
And those kids, honestly, that might do it, they probably don't know me, to be honest. I mean, my office is a walking, they walk in, they walk out, the kids that might be on rifle might not even know who I am.
Yeah, because it might target a totally different
It will
population.
definitely target a totally different, and honestly,
Like,
Right. Well, yeah, that's why I brought it forward, because I think it would reach out to people that don't play the
yeah,
sport.
we honestly believe that we would get it. I haven't encouraged or discouraged for talking to the kids about it, but since it's a new group of kids, to put it out there and then say, oh, sorry, but we.
well, that is my concern.
Yeah.
I can't make promises
Dangle
to
the
kids. I
carrot.
don't want to dangle a carrot when I still have,
Yeah.
I don't know how I go back and say, oh, I'm going to put it in rifle, but I cut modified track, even though you were running it, but I didn't have the money at the time. So to talk to kids about that, and it just puts me in a very awkward
Richard,
spot.
is there any change in travel costs because football will be at CU?
No, because we were going to Albion before. We were going to some interesting places as a we were in the
Going
southern.
down to some of the more Chautauqua-based.
No, we should be fine. I done, my papers are in front of you, that's okay.
And what was the cost of bringing modified boys, girls across?
10,000 for both of them. As you know, we don't, the reason it seems low, people are probably looking, is we don't fund non-league contests for any level of sport, so it's really just their league contests. They fundraise for the other, well, they fundraise for everything right now.
And the one below it?
I'm sorry, what?
The one below that?
I'm considering that to be around 10,000 as well. Modified track was, I don't want to say an easy one, but they only had 3 track meets. They had 3 away and 2 home, and they only have 2 officials. So it's really the coach's stipend for the 2 of them. And JV cheerleading was a very, I want to say cheap, but that's not that really nice. word
Even
to
though it's
say.
considered a sport.
Yeah.
And we'll have more talk about athletics add or subtractions as you go through the budget process. I just want to be respectful. I know Paul has to leave in a few minutes. We'd love to have a special board meeting and Lucinda before we go to the community forum. Other questions from Marissa?
Just a comment, piggybacking on what Paul has suggested. As president of the Booster Club, I have opportunity, I've been in almost every single sport I've done on golf. And I had an opportunity to go to bowling. I've been at every sporting event, and at bowling, there were, I like to think I know almost every kid who plays the sport. At bowling, I didn't. There was a bunch of kids I had never seen before.
The no group of kids.
It gives a different group of kids an opportunity to wear the E on their chest and participate in the sport, and that may be their only connection. So I wholeheartedly endorse a rifle team. It's going to drag in another group of kids who now they're not going home after school to play video games or who knows what else. So I think it's a great idea given our locale and some of the other teams locally that are moving in this direction. I think it would be great.
Rifle's winner, right?
Rifle is in the winter, and it would be great to offer another sport in the winter.
Alden?
Alden, Clarence, Holland,
Iroquois,
yeah, thank you.
Pioneer.
Pioneer now is going to be in it. My thought
Pioneer
process.
to get up for the 16-17 school year?
My thought process too is, Ms. Amsel and I have talked, we actually met with the superintendent and the new principal over at North Collins. My thought is they might be interested in tagging up with us on this. They seem to be relatively an athletic new group over there that I think are interested in, they want the most for their kids. So even if we didn't have enough, I guess, really what's enough, but enough interest here, that reaching out to North Collins, would they be interested in starting this program up with us?
And the club being where it is would be the ideal one to help out because it's right between the 2 districts.
It's awesome.
And really, there's not a lot of sports offered in the winter. So, you know, we can only reach, I believe, 30% of our kids right now. 20%, if we could add something else. That's why a lot of school districts offer indoor track. They also have an indoor track, but they offer indoor track, or they offer some gymnastics and hockey in the winter to reach more kids, because you can only have so many basketball uniforms. Only so many cheerleading. Even bowling, we max out at 24. So it would be nice to have another sport up to offer in the winter.
Other questions from Marissa? Okay, why don't we break from the bat meeting for a few minutes? So we can resume the BAT meeting because we got about 15 minutes for you, Lucinda. Oh, yeah. Lucinda's also passed out information as well. Yes. And just for those who were here just a few extra minutes late, I know schedule's been very hectic. We actually today, all the presentations have been provided today. So they're in front of you, and moving forward, it's from this part of the budget on, it's going to be pretty much the day off. Okay.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay, I actually handed out 3 sheets. The first one is called Eden CSD Instructional Technology Plan Annual 2015. This is brand new, almost hot off the press. I think Sandy and I got confirmation end of December, beginning of January from State Ed that this was approved. This is a whole new process that's coming based out of the Smart Schools Bond Fund. If you go to our website now, or if you're familiar, I think, Mike, you've probably been familiar. Although I say this, I've been in this job 17 years. The first few years, we had 5-year plans were required for tech plans. I did 2 of those, and then it switched to 3-year plans, which is basically, you get 1 year kind of after it's been approved. The second year, we meet with committee all year with the department chairs and write the new plan. And the October of the last year of our 3-year plan, we submit it, and it goes to BOCES and back, and they do some revisions, and then usually in June, I show it to the Board of Ed and say, yay, here's 3 more years. With the Smart School Bond Plan, and I want to say, I was thinking about this earlier, it wasn't even a year ago. I want to say, maybe, Kathy, you were at the meeting, April? I got told I had to go to a meeting on a specific day in July and be told that I had to write this plan, which is very different than the other one, which you know. The other one was like a template. You had to be sure you had all these pieces and how you filled it out, and the narratives were up to you. This is like more like a questionnaire. So I did the first submission in July, and we came back and we had another meeting in September with the committee, and I had to have it back in by the absolute deadline, which was the October 8th. This is now going to be annually, just like it said, which on the other side too, we did pay a fee every 3 years to BOCES, which I was just discussing with Tom and Sandy today. We will now be paying a fee annually. There's a lot more pieces to this, and what we have to do, this had to be done before us to even apply for the Smart Schools Bond Fund. Since we've gotten this approved, I have another meeting on March 9th to give us an update of what the next steps are. I know that Kathy just mentioned that, like last night on the news, people are saying people haven't applied, and being the person that represents the districts to these meetings, it's very hard to know all the steps. BOCES is still playing catch up, which is usually our people that tell us what to do. And like I said, this is my first update since October on what the next step is. So I will keep you posted, but I did want to put this out here and have you look at it. Sandy and I were talking, it's a weird thing. Our other plan is still good until June 30th, but this is supposed to be for this year too, as a 1-year plan. So we technically have a 3-year plan that's good right now and a 1-year plan. Most of and it says instructional technology plan, I did want to just deviate and say that, like Dave Martin, my department covers everybody. Bus drivers, community members that come to use our facilities, pre-K all the way to 12th grade, all of our teachers, every person in the district that now uses technology, and I think I can safely say everybody uses technology. So even when you look at this, you're going to be missing some of what I get included into my budget. And that said, my next sheet in there is, I did this a few years ago because like I said, this department sort of morphed. Originally, it was the computer hardware lines, which were the 2630 lines. But I don't know, about 2008 maybe, I took over AV also. So instead of like merging the lines, we've always kept them. So I think the sheet underneath, which is our white sheet that everybody's been handing out for the budget, the finance sheet, it's kind of hard to understand because I have these 2 different budget lines. So I just kind of do like, I call the yellow sheet my cheat sheet.
And what I would say to everyone too, they both say the same thing.
They say the same thing, but it's just how I...
Hers is grouped differently, so
Yeah,
by
just to make it
area.
a little easier.
$2 difference.
Okay, $2 difference. Yes, we discovered
Very
that's-
good, yes, it's a rounding issue
It's
with
a-
finance manager.
Yeah, not
So-
my Excel spreadsheet.
I'm impressed, Mike.
Very good. So, for example, like the first one, we have AV things for AV hardware. Those are things like projectors. Obviously, computer hardware is a little more simpler to define. Computer hardware, there will also be servers and things. This year, we do have one server that needs to be replaced in the recycle replacement. And that's pretty much what our tech plan talks about, is that we have a recycle replacement schedule. Previously, the state allowed us to do it at any time, that we just deemed a computer or whatever would be recyclable. In this new plan, it is one change. They are now requiring us to do a 5-year replacement recycle
I
schedule.
think it's notable that you state that too, because on page 7 of the technology audit, it asks how many devices we have that are less than 5 years old,
Yes.
leading into that new replacement cycle.
New replacement
We
cycle.
were on a 7-year replacement cycle before.
Yeah, six
right?
years, 6 years.
But now we have to shift it to a 5.
Yes,
And
which-
if you take a look at the bottom of page 7, you'll see that of the total of over 600 devices that we have, 200 of them are less than 5 years old. So that
Yes.
means that two-thirds of our hardware are out of the new
Compliance.
compliant 5-year rotation
Right.
schedule.
And that becomes really evident and a concern on the instructional side. I know Kelly just brought back that we're hearing today, computer-based testing is coming, 2018, Kel? 2018. So mandatory. This year, we are pilot, we've put into pilot a year, just to see how our systems are doing, how our teachers are doing, how our kids are handling it at Mr. Graff's, at the elementary school. We're waiting to hear if we're going to be one of the schools that are accepted for this pilot. I'd really like to see us do it. I think it would be a good test of our, everything, our network, our readiness, so we're looking forward to that, right, Mr. Graff? Okay. That said, and I do want to mention this, so when you look at my budget or the technology budget for the last few years, keeping up even with a 6-year rotation in our very small district has been a tough nut. So I do want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart, and I know you've been hearing quite a bit from the students themselves for the additional funds that were given by the board at the end of the budget process last year. $127,000. We were able to buy one of our mobile labs that had been left off the recycle replacement the year before, so we were down a lab, and we were able to get that lab. But also, prior to last year, we had 23 classrooms that had smart boards in them. We were able to add an additional 27. To put it in perspective, we have 121 classroom teachers. So now we're up to about 55 classroom teachers that have a smart board in their room all the time. So thank you. That was a big jump and deeply appreciated, trust me. So. Any questions? You can see it really didn't go up too much, and it's a little bit of what Marissa says. You know, a light bulb even goes up in price sometimes, so just getting the same things. I suppose, before I take questions, I should answer, the instructional software line, and Kathy's going to chime in here, is a line I've been very concerned about for the last few years with the declining enrollment. Put my other hat on here. We get $14.98 per student, and probably back in 2013-14, 2014-15, that was probably the amount of money we got for the amount of students we had there, but for us to be able to still maintain, because nowadays I don't buy software that much, I buy yearly subscriptions, like Raz Kids or A to Z or Castle Learning, her textbook online. You know, there's things that we have to buy yearly subscriptions, and I could see the handwriting on the wall about 3-4 years ago that we were going to hit that spot where we needed to put district money in to be able to just maintain our programs. So that's why you do see that line go up this year. That's pretty much just to maintain. There's really nothing new in there.
I think it's worth noting, too, is that until the technology infrastructure is in our district from the capital project, that it would be difficult for us to propose anything else in this budget because we can't support it. So we don't have the infrastructure to support
We don't.
anything else wireless, any more hardware. We will be grateful if what we have lasts until we can replace
Yes.
it.
We actually
So-
had a capital project meeting today, and we had the BOCES gentleman there telling, you know, the state of our system, and I liked the way our BOCES network man said, well, you know, your current Wi-Fi, you got secondhand from another district. I bought it off
In
of,
2005.
yeah, I bought it off of Hamburg.
it's newer than that.
No, well, I've bought some more pieces. As other districts are
okay.
basically throwing them out, I've literally, the last few years, been able to pick them up, some from Pioneer, and just say, they're like, okay, we're throwing these in the garbage unless somebody still uses that system. Eden is literally the last district using that system anymore. So I know it came up today, could we possibly put one more access point in a classroom, and we're going, well, we'll kind of make some calls and see if somebody has them shoved in a closet somewhere, but, it's reached end of life, which is what Sandy's pointing out, and that means I can't get support for it. Basically, if I can't find an old one laying around, I'm not going to get anybody to repair them or be able to fix it, so.
Questions for Lucinda?
So any of the equipment dollars are just replacing, so we have a computer, it's too old and we're putting a different one there. It's not any additional equipment. Any of this stuff.
Well,
We will get into a lot of the equipment purchases next time. The next presentation, and actually I was going to end with this anyway, so perfect segue, Jack, thank you.
Yeah.
The next presentation, we'll talk about BOCES and all the BOCES purchases. A lot of them actually do go through BOCES specifically for this department, but we'll look at BOCES, the entire district, and we'll talk about particularly this area,
I was just gonna say,
PPS, there are two big areas.
hopefully-
And we
There's a
do
little
have
bit.
initiatives moving forward on
Yeah.
new equipment, but it falls under the BOCES lines.
Yeah.
But it also falls up against all the other priorities, so it'll try to figure out what becomes a 1 and what is a priority 5. But I know even at the last meeting, we talked about a smart table in pre-K, and we talked about iPads at GLP or at the elementary school, so those are still there.
and I'm going to say, I've priced all that out, it's in a spreadsheet right now, but we haven't had those discussions about priorities. and-
Correct.
Is that a good
Well,
way to
we've
put it,
had
Tom?
3 discussions about priorities, but we have to have a few more.
Right.
Correct. So again, that's March 2nd, that we'll talk about that, and then we'll start to look at the staffing piece as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Deficit or no?
We can do that over there.
Okay.
Okay, so 6:30, we're going to begin in the library with the community forum.